Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Saturday. We have a special Saturday episode. And we don't do these often. The last time we did one was with Jeremy McKenzie, and we had a major storm and we had hail, and looks like God's with us on this one. He wants this interview to happen. So we have beautiful skies, a nice breeze, not too hot, not too cold. So we've got the okay to go on this particular interview. Thank you all for joining me. Again, it's a special Saturday, but we're kicking off Advocates Week. So what I wanted to try and do is, I don't work on Sundays, but I can certainly do Saturdays. And what I wanted to do is bring to you a whole bunch of advocates for the next week. And of course, we have Pastor Rob and Melissa McKee from Bikers Church. Advocates for sure. And if you check my schedule out, I can actually let you know that on Monday we have Alex Cabana. So we'll be speaking to him, who's a veteran advocate. He's a veteran himself, and he advocates for veterans. So he's a veteran advocate. And then on Tuesday, as a street advocate, we have Chris Dacey. I always had that R. Chris Dacey from Save America or Save Canada. My gosh, I'm nervous today. From Save Canada, we have Chris Dacey coming. Then on Thursday, we're going to have some fierce advocates with Bethan Nodwell and Stacy Cotter. I'm excited about that one. I got to speak to them and spend some time on the phone with them. Wow. Impressive advocates, impressive people. Bethan is amazing. She connected me to Josh Alexander and to Pastor Rob and Melissa McKee today. So very, very good people. And then make sure that you come on the 14th where we're going to have the musical advocate. This is Greg Arcade. So he's going to be playing some music. He's got something to share with us, and we got some good stories from him. If you don't know who he is, he's a musician out of Manitoba who's got some of the best freedom fighting music there is out there. There's a few of them out there, but he's a really, really impressive one. So we'll be able to speak with him. So we're kicking off Advocacy Week because this is an important function of our democracy, to be able to advocate for what you need, what you want, what you see as wrong, what you have to change. There's a whole bunch of reasons to be an advocate, from veteran affairs to street, to fierce, to music. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. And what we're going to be talking to is with Pastor Rob and Melissa McKee. We're going to be talking about how faith plays a role in it too. Faith is really important to me, and certainly really important to my guests. Now, I don't want to wait too long because I got a lot to talk to them about, and they got a full house. Because when you are in this world doing this kind of work, you attract a lot of people who want to be around and help. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Pastor Rob and Melissa McKee. Hello. Welcome.
Hey there.
Hi there. So this is our first time really meeting. We got a couple moments right before the show, but I got to admit, I'm out in Alberta, and I haven't crossed your paths just yet until I was talking to Bethan, and I looked into you, and I thought, wow, this is a bit of a divine intervention to be able to sit down and have a chat with you guys. So thank you very much for joining me today on this Saturday.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure. Now, I understand you guys woke up today and you're just lounging all day. You didn't do anything today, or did you guys do something today?
Well, my day started, I had to do a memorial service, and then a large group from our church. We took part in the annual March for Jesus here in our city. So
yes,
we had about, I don't know, like 60 people from
I think it's way more than that, actually.
Yeah,
I think
we had a lot
80.
of people. About 80 people from our church go down and march for Jesus and through the streets of Ottawa. So it was pretty cool.
So you went from your church to another point and back, or what kind of march did you do?
No, it all started in the downtown area in a place called our Confederation Park, which is right across from our city hall. We marched through the back roads up to Rideau Street, then up Rideau Street with a stop at Parliament Hill, and the rest of the festivities were taking part there at Parliament Hill.
Excellent. And I think Chris Dacey was showing that on Facebook as well, so you had some support there.
Yep.
Yeah, and then some of the Save Canada people were there, the boys and Dax and stuff like that.
Yep, they were all there as
they were
well.
all there.
Yeah, everybody representing Jesus.
Red hats and everything.
Representing Bikers Church.
Well, thank goodness you guys restocked. I placed my order this morning. Dax let me know this morning that you're taking orders again. So you've already lost 2 of that inventory. It's heading out to Alberta now, so thank you for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I was pretty intrigued to find out that you guys are really active in a whole bunch of things. So of course, you have your church, and we'll get into that. You had the Freedom Convoy stuff. You had Rolling Thunder. You're working with Save Canada. When do you have time for anything else?
This is our life, actually.
Yeah.
This is what our life is not our own, and we're quite happy with it that way. We've given our lives to serve.
That's wonderful. Now, do you have children?
We do. We have 3 kids. Dax is 22. We have a son named Dade who's 20. And our youngest name is Tatius. He's our youngest boy. And he's 16.
And is he active as well? I know Dax is active, but are the other 2 active as well?
For being in the background.
Yeah. They want to be in the shadows.
Yeah.
That's some of the more important work sometimes, is the logistics of keeping things running. You have the people up front who you get to see on the camera all the time, but there's a whole bunch of people behind them supporting them. So that's really cool. Now, Melissa, you were mentioning that you call yourself the road mother for Save Canada. Is that
Road
the word?
Yeah.
Road mom?
Raising all kinds of teenagers, it seems.
That's very cool. So Josh, of course, is part of your extended family now, and then the rest of the team. How long have you known Josh for?
We met them in February, actually. I mean, we've crossed paths a bunch, at different protests and on the Hill. But in February, they actually made a stop at Bikers Church. And then I invited them over for lunch. We just impromptu had 38 people for lunch that day. I don't even remember what we served, but somehow this stuff works here in this house. I don't know. I can't explain it, but we had 38 people in the house for lunch. The Save Canada boys came, and it just kind of started that way. They needed a place because they live kind of far out of town, and so they were doing a bunch of interviews, and they don't have really great Wi-Fi where they live in the country, so we offered to help them out with that, and then it just kind of started that kind of relationship. And so they're young men, and they're really Rupa described them as frustratingly wise, and it is the absolute truth. They are so wise, but they still need, some vegetables and some fruit every day, and make sure they're fed and hydrated. So I've just kind of stepped into that role and I met their parents, and I absolutely adore them, and we have a great relationship with them. So it's our joy to serve this way.
That's wonderful. And yeah, when I was speaking to Josh, I keep forgetting he's 17. Like, you keep forgetting that. I talk to so many people 3-4 times his age sometimes, and yeah, he's a wise young man, and I love the way that he has his passion towards getting rid of the yucky stuff that we don't need in society anymore, and trying to encourage the younger people to just step away from that and ignore that. You don't really need that in your life. So I really got that out of him in that interview, and I really enjoyed that time with him. So you've known him since February. So you've probably played a big role in giving him the inspiration to keep going and some support as well. So that's wonderful.
I can't actually take credit for that. We just help them with food and sometimes lodging. They really have fire in them. It's really in them. It's not a script that they've got memorized. No. They're passionate about these.
They live it. They live it every single day.
So. They do.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I would say they fire us up, to be very honest.
I can see how that happens. So they're you're like a surrogate home base for them when they're away from their place, but you're drawing inspiration from them because you're seeing first another generation who you thought maybe would have trouble, but these are examples of a generation that's, they're going to be able to do some hard work for us, and then to see them actually do that and continue with their studies, and the young path is always an exciting one to watch. So I'm excited that they are finding a place for comfort with you while they're doing their work in Ottawa. That probably helps them as well, maybe more than to have that stability.
Yeah, we're very blessed to steward them. That's what we're doing.
That's a good way to put it, steward them.
Yeah.
Okay, now if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of rewind the clock a little bit because I want to talk to you about how you got into Bikers Church, what brought you onto that mission, and I want to kind of learn about who you are before all of that. So if you don't mind, did you guys meet before the church? Like, can you get into how you two met and how did you get together?
Well, do you want the long story or the short story?
I'll take the medium one so we can fit it in 2 hours.
We met at a church called the Life Center. We were both in the youth ministry there, and she handed me a note one day that just said, "Call me if you want." And so I called her, and then here we are today. So that's the short version.
Melissa, that's awesome. You liked what you saw. So you wrote him a little note that says, "If you like what you see, call me."
Yeah, I go after what I want. So I told my dad when I was 16 that I would marry him. And,
oh, really? So you've known him for a little while then?
We met when I was 14. I handed him that note when I was 14, actually. But I mean, I was just a kid. So that didn't happen then. But we've kind of been on and off together. When I was 18, we got back together for the last time.
Right.
And we've been together for 30 years, married for 26.
Congratulations, you two. That's amazing. And what is the long version, Rob?
What's the long version?
Yeah,
Well,
if you want to go a little bit longer.
Our story has had a lot of ups and downs and trials, moves, different churches, cancer. So there's been a whole lot involved in the long story. You would probably need about 7 episodes of your show to take it up. So,
well, we'll start with one, and we'll see where this goes, because we can certainly have you back for sure. Because I do suspect that we're going to be able to just get to the surface of who you are, and we won't be able to drop down too deep. But I'd love to one day. So she passed you a note at 14. About 18, you guys kind of finally hooked up for good. 30 years later, you're sitting on the couch talking to this Alberta guy. Now, there's a few things that happened in between there. There were 3 children, and we have Dax's in there as well, who I've communicated with because of her work with Josh. Very nice young lady, very polite, and very attentive to detail too. So that's helpful, especially when you're trying to book people. Getting that right is great. So now you guys are married at 18, I think you were mentioning, or did you get married a little bit later than that?
I was 22, he was 26.
Okay.
Got married. We were both born and raised here in Ottawa, and we attended a church both in our teen years. We gave our lives to the Lord. After growing up in some hard times, both of us come out of a pretty impoverished life and broken homes. So we gave our hearts to the Lord as teenagers, and we served in our youth ministry. And the church we were attending planted a church in the downtown area, and we went with that team to start that church, which actually is now the church that Bikers Church is in. So it's really been a full circle. So
I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah, we were in our 20s. We did youth ministry, and then we were working full-time jobs and doing youth ministry on the side, and really felt a call into ministry, but it just wasn't possible where we were. It was a very small church, and we didn't have any money. So Rob got a call one day from a big church in Toronto, and we felt like that was the Lord, and so said yes to that job. Moved to Toronto, found out that I was pregnant. And I was pregnant with Dax, she's our first. And so we moved to Toronto, and right shortly after, we were there for 3 months. And then he was diagnosed with cancer, with a very aggressive form of leukemia, actually acute myelogenous leukemia. And they told him that he would be dead in a year and we would not have any more children. And it was quite devastating news. So I'm giving you the nutshell version here. So
sure. Yes. And you're pregnant at this time, so the stress is an issue.
Pregnant, and we're in a city that we don't really know anybody. It's a new job. We still are living in a couple. They let us use their basement as a home base because we couldn't find an apartment in Toronto that was affordable and in the area that we needed. And anyways, we know it was the Lord now that was preventing us from signing a lease for a year, because we wouldn't have been there. And so we came home for him to have treatment. And we never went back. That church actually let him go because they were worried he'd get sick again.
Oh, and they didn't want the responsibility of him being sick on their dime.
Which actually was an answer to prayer, honestly, for me. I didn't leave. I didn't want to leave. So he got hired on at the church that we came from, the big church, Life Center, and we were there for 15 years. And then
wow.
16 years.
Yeah.
16 years. So our kids grew up there. We've been trained up well from the pastors there. And so Rob got a call to go to Bikers Church. And it's in a small part of our city called Vanier. It's a pretty rough area. It's where I grew up. And I just knew right away. And it's the style of ministry that we really love. It's very relational. It's not stuffy. Most of the guys have big beards and tattoos. Nobody wears suits. It's jeans. Sleeves are optional. We serve coffee and hot dogs every service. It's super relaxed, and it's really warm and inviting. And there's a lot of really great ministries that happen out of our church, in the community, and we really love that. So it fit with our personalities, with the way that we work. And so we've been at Bikers Church for 8 years now, and it's been absolutely God's gift to us to be able to steward this work.
To you and to many, from what I understand. There's quite a few people who are very touched by your work. I've met some of them, and I'm sure I'm going to meet a lot more. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to back up a little bit to the leukemia time of your life. So you had a year and a half given to you. You shouldn't be here anymore. So something happened there. You took some treatment. God touched you. Something happened there where you were able to get through that. Want to kind of take us through that journey?
Yeah, for sure. So when I was diagnosed, we transferred right from the hospital in Toronto, and we drove right to the Ottawa hospital, and I had to start a pretty aggressive form of chemotherapy. So my first round of chemotherapy consisted of two types, idarubicin and cytarabine were the two chemos that I was on. And one of them, I was actually hooked up to it for 24 hours a day, 7 days straight. So as soon as the bag was empty, they would just pump another bag right into you. So for 24 hours a day for 7 days straight, I was getting chemo pumped into my body. And it did the job. My cancer actually did go into remission after the first round of chemo. And so I thought that was exciting news. But my nurses let me know. And my nurses were absolutely great. They were fabulous. But they said, it's no problem getting your type of cancer into remission. It's keeping it in remission. That is the problem. We can get almost everyone in remission. We can't keep them in remission. So most likely you still only have a year because your cancer will be back. So I had to start what was called consolidation treatments. And so once your body kind of recovers from the first round, they do a more aggressive form of treatment for your next 2 rounds. And so I started that probably about 3-4 weeks later. And it was pretty intense because during that second round of chemo, I got a fever. A fever that spiked pretty high. Went to 105. Went to 105.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. And so I was pretty much on death's door. They were packing me in ice. They had to give me a drug, a pretty intense drug called amphotericin B. They gave me that drug, and that it worked. It broke my fever, but it sent my body into a hypothermic state. So now it was too cold. So I went from being packed in ice to being packed in heated blankets, but made it through that one. And then they decided, hey, well, let's do a whole other round. Let's do another round of chemotherapy on them. So I did the third round of chemotherapy and actually kind of went through that one, no problem, really no issues. And then came what that was required for every kind of leukemia patient when their cancer goes into remission is a bone marrow transplant. So I was asking my nurses what a bone marrow transplant was. And they said, well, we take you right to the verge of death and we try to bring you back. And they explained it to me. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. They said, well, it's mandatory. You're on the schedule. And so we just remember praying that before my appointment, I just prayed. I said, God, if there's any way that I don't have to go through a bone marrow transplant, I'm open to that, but I trust your plan. So I had to meet with the transplant specialist. And so when I walked in and sat down with him, you can tell he was frustrated, and he took my file and he threw it on the table and he says, we have a problem. And I thought, oh my goodness, is my cancer back? He said, no, there's no match for you. You don't have a match. Out of the 7 million bone marrow donors in the world, there's no match for you. And he says, for a white male is unheard of. You should have at least 100 matches. But you have a very rare antigen in your blood, and we can't give you somebody else's bone marrow. And so I just remember I started to kind of laugh and chuckle. Right. And he got pretty mad. He's like, do you think this is a laughing matter? I said, let me tell you from my point of view. I said, I actually prayed before this meeting that if there was any way that I didn't have to go through a bone marrow transplant, that he would make it happen. And I said, I believe this is God answering my prayer. And he said, well, you can't get sick again. I said, deal. I said, tell you what, next time I come in, you tell me you only have a year. I said, I'll be back in a year just to visit you and say hello.
Right. And did you?
Yeah. I went back, and I did have to do some pretty intense follow-up for the first year. It was for the first 6 months. It was almost every week, and then it went to twice a month, and then for the second year, it was kind of once a month. For the next 4 years, they followed up, and then after 5 years, they actually consider you medically cured.
Oh wow!
But we were told that we would never have kids again, and we were in one of the meetings with my hematologist, and lo and behold, my wife was pregnant again. And this was
Mhm.
about after the
Well,
treatment.
Dax was 15 months old, and
So it was less than
Yeah.
2 years, and they said medically impossible. And so I even remember in that appointment, my doctor asked, "Oh, how are things going?" I said, "Great. My wife's pregnant," and it didn't even phase her. It's like she was
Mhm.
so focused, she didn't hear that, and she was just writing things. And it wasn't until about halfway through the appointment she just kind of puts down her pen, and she's kind of perplexed, and she said, "Did you say your wife's pregnant?" And I'm like, "Yes, I did." And she sat back and she's like, "How did this happen?" And I was like,
Mhm.
"Well, doctor, surely you know how this stuff happens."
Yes.
No, 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 no. Rob, this is not supposed to happen. It's medically impossible for you to have kids. And she just said, "We don't know what to do with you." She said, "But whatever
Mhm.
you're doing, keep doing it, and please tell others to do it as well." So it was an incredible journey that we've gone through. It had its highs and it's had its lows, but God showed himself faithful every single step of the way. And now we have this
Yeah.
incredible story that we get to tell others, that we get to inspire others with, we get to encourage others with. And God remains faithful. And this year will be 23 years that I'm cancer free. So
So you are a miracle. You got 2 miracle babies as well, because they're not
yeah,
supposed to be here. And look at that, 3 miracles. That's pretty
yeah,
cool there, Rob.
yeah.
Now you're no more sign. There's a complete
No,
remission. It's not come back. You're
I'm at
medically.
no more risk than anybody else ever to get leukemia. So
Oh, amazing. Are
yeah.
you actually a little bit stronger than the rest of us? You have a bit more immunity to it or anything like that? Like, are you like a superhero now?
Yeah, I don't know. I maybe the chemo just kind of killed off everything in my system.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I used to get bronchitis like clockwork, and I haven't had bronchitis since. So
I'm not joking. Like, you may have had a pretty intense
yeah,
immune response where you are in good shape now. You're like a superhuman, Rob.
yeah. I went on to play almost 8 years of semi-pro football after cancer. So yeah, so I got
Is
to.
CFL or a different type of
No,
league?
this was a league out of the. It was called the Empire Football League out of New York
Okay.
State. Yeah, there was a Canadian team, and called the Ottawa Deacon Demons. So I got to play for them.
The Deacon Demons. That's
Yeah,
kind of a weird title.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, was it religious based or was it just a funky name for that group?
They actually took the name of the Wake Forest
Okay.
Demon Demons and they used that. That's all they did. Yeah.
Okay. Because I remember I was part of this one volleyball group, and the name of the group was like the Volleyball Devils or something like that. And I actually had a friend that was going to join the group, but he refused to wear that because of the term devil. So he stuck to his morals there. He could just wear a normal shirt. He didn't have to wear the outfit. But yeah, I was asking because, that's important to some people.
Yeah.
So I was asking if there's a relation there.
Mhm.
Now, clearly the church came first because you guys met when you were young, and then the biker came later. So were you always a two-wheel guy and gal,
No,
or is this
no,
something you guys
no.
went into later?
When I got the phone call from Bikers Church, they were actually looking to hire an associate pastor. And so
Hmm.
I got a phone call at the Life Center. And so I went over. I said, "Sure, I'm interested to meet." I didn't know he was going to offer me a job, the
I
pastor
did.
at the time.
I did.
You did? Yeah. Did you know? Did you have a feeling, or you knew? You knew.
I knew we were going right away. As soon as he got the call, I knew we were going.
So I had
Okay.
with the pastor, and he said, "Listen, I don't know you that well, but you've got a very good reputation in this city. A lot of people love you, and I want to hire you." I said, "Well," I said, "that's interesting. We're in the process where we're thinking that it's time for us to make a transition or a change from the church that we're at. So yeah, let's explore this and see what happens." So sure enough, we ended up. That process started in November, and by January the 26th, I was on staff there.
Wow. And so you didn't have to have a motorcycle to be part of the bikers
Oh,
church?
and I sort of figured once I said, if I'm going to be a pastor of Bikers Church, I guess I better get a motorcycle. And
Yeah.
so I started riding that year. And the first thing I did when I got on the motorcycle and said, "Why the heck did I not do this sooner?" It's
Right.
it's an incredible feeling. So yeah, now I'll ride right from when the snow melts right till the snow falls. So
Awesome. And you too, Melissa, you ride?
I ride on the back of his bike. I'm not interested in riding myself, but you know what? We had 3 little kids when we got there, and so I always had the 3 kids and all our gear. And if we go to a rodeo, I drive the truck and the trailer, and so somebody's got to do all that. So I'm more than happy to do it. I love going on the back of the bike for sure. But and we're getting to a place we do it more often. We'll go on dates, and we'll take the bike or just get up and go on a Saturday morning, something like that. So it's a really fun thing to be a part of our lives, because it wasn't before. And honestly, people that meet him can't believe that he's been riding for such a short time, because he's really natural. And he actually grew this beard before we got to Bikers
Church. I had the beard when I got to Bikers Church. I was actually part of the Canadian Ski Patrol. Right. And the guy that I patrolled with, my partner, he had a big beard. And I said, does it really help on the hill? He's like, yeah, surprisingly it does. So I said, I'm going to grow one out. So I grew one out and decided to keep it. So I've had it for a little over almost 9 years.
Yeah. And I love it.
It seems like your journey went backwards. You got the church, then the beard, then the bike, then the Bikers Church. Yeah. It's pretty cool. What I also did is I reached out to a few people that were fans of yours and people that wanted to say hi to you. And one of them just showed up. So if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of sneak somebody in that wants to say hi to you. Let's go with you. This is Granny McKee out in Alberta. You know who Granny is?
Of course.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Oh, good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I just love you too.
Your audio is really bad, Granny. Just so you know. But we can make out what you're saying.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm out in an area that's probably doesn't have a great signal, so I won't stay long, but just wanted to tell these two they were a great part of my Ottawa trip. And I've actually got their shirt on right now, the Biker Church tank top.
Nice.
And,
we share,
that's awesome.
Granny and I share a love for the guys who have been in prison through Convoy. Yes. All that, we share a definite passion for those boys.
Yeah. The Coots men. I'll let you know how I know Granny shortly as well. But when I put out the message that you were on, Granny immediately put a bunch of hearts and stuff and says, "I love these guys." And I said, "Do you want to say hi then?" So she said, "Yes." So here you go.
Yeah. No, Melissa and I kept in touch in the background. We never made our announcements public like some. We would chat in the background, and I supported her. She supported me, and like I said, and I've received hugs from both of them, and actually, and the owners of the church too. There, I got to hug them. I hugged so many people in that church. It was a good support. Everybody that went there loved their experience. And Rob, I came home and I continued to listen to you on Sundays in my house. I would just turn the speaker on and do my duties around the house and listen to you. So thank you for having an online presence also.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Granny. Appreciate that. And we'll talk to you on Monday. Your audio is getting.
Love you too, and love you too, Jason. And we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Love you, Grandma. You take care, Granny.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah, she's a fan. She's a fan. And yeah. So here's what happened with Granny. A few weeks ago, I'm in Alberta. I'm a podcaster. I'm running for office. I'm doing a bunch of things out here. And I've been interviewing a lot of the people from the POEC. So I had Tom Marazzo on, Jeremy McKenzie. I just had Bridget Belton on. I had Chris Deering and Maggie Hope Braun on. And I reached out to Twitter and I said, hey, I'm looking to connect with POEC witnesses and anybody that's associated with the Coots issue. And then somebody reached out to me and says, you need to talk to Granny McKee. I'm like, all right. So I contacted Granny McKee. We got on the phone and she told me what's going on about Chris, Tony, and Jerry. At the time, it was 496 days in remand. And she told me what's going on. So immediately we decided to create a show around this. So every morning for an hour, Granny sits down with me. I talk with her. We have a gentleman named Donald Best, who's a criminal investigator. He does corruption investigation. And we bring on other guests to review, for example, the table of guns, which has more questions than answers. We went over that with a gun expert. We had Rick Abbott, who is the fired police officer from Edmonton, the staff sergeant, who got fired for going to talk to Milk River, of all places, where it was nice and peaceful. And the entire mission is to keep a focus on what's going on with those gentlemen. And because it's an injustice, we believe there's a political prisoners problem here in Alberta. So that's how I know Granny. For the last 2 weeks now, every morning for an hour, we bring on guests and we talk about this matter and keep bringing awareness to it. So when she said she's a fan, I'm like, Granny, come on. You got to come on and say hi, and we'll reconnect you here. So thank you for taking that moment and giving her a moment there. Now, it's not going to help anybody who thinks I'm a deep fake and stuff when they hear Granny talk like a robot like that. But no, that's real. That's real. That was Granny. That was just a bad connection.
Room with her many
We
times.
have seen her.
Many times. Yep.
Yeah, she's a godsend for sure too. And there's some sort of divine intervention because as we are connecting with her and other people, it's like the right people at the right time for the right reason. So whatever the plan is, we're on a bit of a journey together. So I'm not sure if you checked it out yet, but check it out. It's 8:00 in the mornings for Eastern time, 6:00 Mountain time. And we do it for an hour and we're going to keep doing it until they're out. So
Cool.
yeah, there's a good reason for us to be doing this. Something's not right here. But stay tuned for July 25th. That's our next hearing in Lethbridge. I'll be there physically. Granny will be there. A whole bunch of us will be there supporting them. And we may get some good news July 25th. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
So sorry, not mean to have a bit of a plug there during the interview, but Granny's important to us. And
something to definitely we all need to be on board with.
absolutely. So you met Granny during the convoy stuff? Is this where you first met her?
Yeah, we did. She actually came in with Piper, Danny Bulford's wife. She was. I don't even know how she was connected with Piper, but
she was staying there.
Yeah, she was. So she came in.
She was staying at their home.
Yeah. She just kind of became part of the furniture for a few weeks. You know, she had this get up that she made, like a construction, like the safety gear, really bright, and she had put electrical tape on it and written things on it, and it was just amazing. It was amazing. So we spent quite a bit of time with her. You know, they'd come. The church was a home base for a lot of people. We were a warming center. That's what we called ourselves. Because it was February in Ottawa, which was very cold, and nothing was open. And I mean nothing. So there's a bit of a story on how that happened. But
well, I can share one with you from yesterday's interview. Maggie Hope Braun had one about the Bikers Church.
Yes, Maggie, sweet Maggie. Yep.
Yeah. So after she went through that ordeal, and she went into the paddy wagon, and they drove her around and dropped her off at a yard. And that's where she met you. I don't know if she met you personally, but she met the Bikers Church, and they took care of her and gave her a ride.
I did. Yeah, we were that day, that dark day. We sent teams out across the city when we heard that the police were taking people and dropping them off in the middle of nowhere. We were sending teams out to go and round people up, and bring them back to the church. And we had a chef that had completed his time that was there for weeks, the whole entire time. He was there cooking food, delicious food. He was a Red Seal chef from Toronto, volunteered his time, brought all the food, and assembled a team, delivery guys. It was an absolutely incredible thing that happened. He was, we had all this delicious food to serve people. People were charging their phones. A guy at the church went out and bought a bunch of phone chargers because, things were left in their vehicles. Some of them didn't even have wallets. Some of them didn't have jackets. They were pulled out of their vehicles with no coats or shoes on even. So we were just, however we could help anybody, we were on board with it. And Maggie was one of those people that came to the church that day. I remember seeing her. She was pretty traumatized by it. We chatted for a few minutes, but the church had hundreds of people in it that day. So yeah, Maggie's a sweet, sweet friend.
She is, and she's a very smart woman and very passionate too. She's still fighting. She's still fighting even after all of that. Yep. And it's amazing to watch. And then also, I think Chris Deering crossed your paths as well. Have you worked with him?
We've never worked with him. I have spoken to Chris after the public inquiry. I spoke with him, but we've never crossed paths physically. So I look forward to that day for sure, though.
Yeah, so he's got a lot of things. He's moving out to the bush. He's going to disconnect and get back to nature, which is great. And he's got December 15th. We're going to follow him because he's got a memorial to get back to. He has this routine that he's been doing ever since he came back from Afghanistan. But during COVID, they wouldn't allow him to do that routine. They put a bubble around New Brunswick and he couldn't go. Yeah. And he hasn't gone back since. So we're now encouraging him to revisit that, to go back and say go hello to his friends again. So we'll be seeing that in December. So he's doing well. Which is good news. And then Alex Cabana, another friend of yours.
Oh, I love Alex Cabana.
Yeah, we'll be speaking to him on Monday. So I'm going to sit down again with the veteran advocate. Now, he's an inspirational person.
He really is. He really is. He's a strong, silent type, I would say. We've been in the same room with him several times. He stopped at Bikers Church one day, met him for the first time, and then he's been working with the Save Canada boys a little bit and trying to just help them with some different things. He's a very smart guy. He's got a lot of skills. He's got a lot of life experience, and he's just a wonderful, wonderful man, and we really love him.
Yeah, there's a lot of good people around you. I wonder why. There's a bunch of good people around you. So let's go ahead and talk a bit more about the convoy stuff. So before you came to Ottawa, of course, you heard about it. You knew it was coming. Were you watching mainstream media? Were you watching alt media? Were you getting your information just from direct sources? What were you doing as it was coming to Ottawa?
Well, before it happened, I'll back up a little bit in that we stayed open at Bikers Church. We decided we were going to stay open.
Excellent. So no mandate stopped you. No lockdown stopped you.
We did the first lockdown because we didn't know what it was, but it was not even 2 weeks into this, and we knew something was going on. And then we really knew something was going on when Justin Trudeau decided in June. We locked down in March, and in June, he allowed the Black Lives Matter march to happen on Parliament Hill with 20,000 people. And here, my kids had missed birthday parties, and I couldn't see my parents, and we had to lock the church down. We couldn't have church, and we were just like we had enough. So we opened the church up, and we were getting messages from. Like I said, we're in a pretty broken area of the city, and we got a lot of people that struggle with a lot of things. It's really not your grandma's church. So I had a guy named Shannon who I prayed every week that I would see him, that I would not lose him to his addiction. And he was texting me and saying, Melissa, I need to be in church today. Can I please be one of the 10 people that's allowed in the building? And I showed my phone to Rob one day and said, what are we doing?
Right.
What are we doing if it's not for these people? And Rob said, tell them we have room for one more. And we never said, okay, here, let's really stick it to the government and let's rebel and let's do all this stuff. No, we were like, Shannon needs to be saved. Let's save Shannon, and then let's save Alex, and then let's save, Emma, and let's save all the other people that were calling us saying, I really need to be in church. I'm not doing well. I can't live like this anymore. I'm isolated. I'm depressed. My anxiety's taken over. I started using again. Like, my kids are struggling. They're being depressed with clinical depression. Rob just said, tell them there's room for one more. And that was like, it just was the thing. So I would just tell people that, oh yeah, we have room for one more. And then we had like 40 people coming to the church every Sunday. And then we weren't forcing masks either, because we also have people who have gone through some very traumatic things in their lives who couldn't put a mask on their face for a lot of different reasons. And we weren't going to make that happen either. So we weren't asking for vaccination status. We weren't making people mask, and we kept our doors open because we were saving people's lives. And it just became the thing that we said was, there's room for one more.
Right. There's always room for one more. And then when did they come knocking and say there's no room for anybody?
Actually, no, the government, they never came knocking. We never tried to make a splash or tried to make it a political thing, try to rally people to our side. We just said, we're doing this for our people. Our neighbors were the ones that were the most upset and would contact bylaw. And so bylaw would start to show up a little bit more regularly on our Sundays, watching people going into the building.
With no masks.
Yeah. And then one morning, this was during the third lockdown, they surrounded the whole building. They had bylaw at every one of our entrances to the church. And so we just said, well, let's just go chat with them. So we went out and we found out who the supervisor was, and we just chatted with her, and she just said, listen, we hate that we have to be here, but we got to follow up on every complaint. And so she just said, we're just here doing our job. I'm not going to come in. I'm not going to issue any tickets. I'm not going to give any fines for people not wearing masks, although I could. And then she just said, keep doing what you're doing. We know how important you are to the community. Keep doing what you're doing. So
That's
we've
beautiful.
all this incredible favor we feel with the people that we needed to have favor with. And when they truly saw that what we do as a church is not a political movement, it's really being Jesus with skin on to lost, hurting, and broken people. And they realize that community needs that. So why are we even going to touch that?
Absolutely. And the way you approach them sure helped. Like some people may have said, get out of here. You don't belong here. We don't want you here, yada, yada, and, be adversarial to them. But I can envision you just walking up and saying hi and then starting from there, even saying God bless. Yeah, because they are doing their job, right? And, if they didn't, there'd be other problems. You'd actually maybe have the neighbors there hounding you and over your shoulders or something. So look, they had a purpose too. I do appreciate that they didn't do anything though. That's good. Yeah. Now, so you were able to continue. Did you inspire other churches to go ahead and open their doors and continue, or you're just really focused on your mission there?
We didn't hear of too many churches in Ottawa that kept their doors open. I think there was one or two others.
There were two that we knew of.
Yeah.
One of them, the pastor we knew, he's a Facebook friend of mine, and we've chatted, just like briefly. He'll tell me what he's doing. I'm telling him what we're doing. That was it. The other church in West Ottawa, we just met him at a protest a couple weeks ago, actually, but really lovely man. And he was also very involved with Convoy. He kept his doors open and was very supportive. So that was incredible. I mean, we're 5 minutes away from Parliament Hill.
Right.
So we're very close. We were very convenient, a place. We're really close to Coventry, the base that they had at Coventry Road. And so it was easy for us. That their church was far out in the West End. And so he didn't really have the traffic that we had.
Right.
But sadly, no, not many churches were willing to look at this and say, yeah, I'm going to get involved. And I mean, we've been, I would say, probably very misunderstood. And people think that we are being political about everything. And you know what? It's just how it is, actually. Everything has become political, and we're in the business of loving people where they're at. And so we were loving the people that we had coming to our doors the way they needed to be loved. And that looked different than some other churches. And we decided we're okay with it. We're okay with being misunderstood. We're okay with you not agreeing how we are doing this.
Mm-hmm.
The scripture in Romans 13 about, honoring the government was thrown around a lot. And we decided that we were going to obey God and not this tyrannical government. And so we're not sorry. We're not.
No, should you? Yeah. When politics come to you, then you can do what you need to do. You weren't going to politics and making a fight. It was coming to you. Where they're making things like being open, a policy of the government, politics came to you. And also the fear of the people. So I think of all the times we needed a lot more faith, because there was so much fear and uncertainty going on that they needed answers. They needed to have some comfort somewhere. So I appreciate the fact that you had some people reaching out to you saying, look, I'm not doing well. I need to come in. Can I be a +1 or one more? And thank you for opening those doors for that. Because I'm sure you saved some people. And I think you know that.
That was actually really easy. To be very honest, that was a really easy thing to do. It was a no-brainer. I had read this book. I actually got COVID during, it was June of 2021. I got COVID, and I read a book by a lady named Corrie ten Boom, and she is a Holocaust survivor. She survived Birkenau, and I was reading her book, and I kind of prayed one day and said, Lord, that's the kind of woman I want to be. I want to be a Corrie ten Boom. So if there was ever an opportunity for me to be that, I want to be like that kind of woman. And it kind of came to pass where, we had to make some hard decisions that were very complicated and not popular with a lot of people. So but we decided those are the kind of people. Sorry, our dog's barking.
Yeah. He's proud of you. I think he's proud of you or something.
Oh, we left the door open. Sorry about that.
No problem.
We just decided that that's the kind of people that we want to be. We're willing to get our hands dirty in people's lives. We're not afraid to get into the messes that people bring, with them. And this kind of felt like the same way.
So your doors were open. You had some people coming in. This is pre-convoy. So this would have been December, January that you're doing all this?
It was the whole year, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So from June all the way through. Okay, cool. And then you get word that there's something coming to Ottawa.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're not watching CBC for this information, but maybe you're getting news through Facebook or some other direct contacts. Did you understand what was coming? Did you understand that there was going to be a big convoy?
Anybody did. I don't think anybody could have. Let me just say this. Before COVID, when we came into Bikers Church, there were some things that happened. The pastor left and took some people with him after we had arrived, and we were left with 40 people. And so after a couple of years, we worked hard and it was growing very, very slowly. We probably had max 80 people coming. We couldn't seem to break 100.
Okay.
And so COVID hits and it flips us upside down. All of our ministries stop and we were having to, readjust and go online and figure all that kind of stuff out. And so when we decided to keep our doors open, people from other churches started to hear that we were open and they started to come because they were not okay with showing up to church, having to register, having to provide vaccine passports, having to force their kids to wear masks, not singing, all of the what I think are really, really crazy things. They didn't want to do them, so they found themselves coming to our church. Very unlikely people to end up at a Bikers church, really. So the church started to fill up, and we now are running at 500 every week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great news. Yeah, that's great news. So some people found a new home and they stayed even when their other doors opened.
They did, and it's been such a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I wanted to put that in there because it kind of works in with, what happened with Convoy. And so, I'm up late at night watching this trucks coming across Canada, and I'm bawling my eyes out. I'm like, because we'd stayed open, right? We decided we're going to be the people that are going to do hard things and do something about what's going on. And this convoy's coming. And hope is just bubbling up inside of me because there's something happening. And I look at Rob, I'm like, it's coming right to our doorstep. What are we going to do? And
it's your people too. These are the people that you attract.
Well, we didn't know that, but he said nothing. I'm like, what do you mean we're not going to do nothing? What? We can't do nothing. We're the church that stayed open. Everybody knows that we're the church that stayed open. And he's like, it's too political. We can't touch it. And the Lord immediately told me to shut my mouth. He said, be quiet. I'm going to deal with it. And I'm really frustrated. I'm sad. I feel like we're going to miss out on this opportunity. I don't even know what. I have no idea. I just see this line of trucks that's making its way across Canada. And so, I've got the Zello app. I'm cooking in the kitchen and I got the Zello app on and I'm listening and I'm bawling my eyes out cooking every day. And it was so wonderful. I was on EI, actually. I lost my government job because of COVID. So
oh my.
I was on EI for a couple of months there. But yeah, so I'm, in the kitchen cooking, doing laundry. I got the Zello app going. I'm listening to all the truckers and the kids. And I'm like, this thing is going to be huge. And so I wake up one morning and he's been up for hours already. And I said, what are you doing?
Yeah, I just went and I do what I do every morning. I was praying. And that morning I just reading my Bible and I was reading through Proverbs chapter 3. And it just said, and it just struck me. And it said, don't withhold good if it's in your power to do so. Don't say to your neighbor, come back tomorrow when you can help them today. I thought, well, what would we do that we don't normally do? We normally feed people and we normally clothe people. So why can't we do that during the convoy?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah, let's stay open. Let's provide shelter for them. Let's be a place where there are going to be our neighbors. They're coming into our city. So let's host them. Let's love on them. Some of them may have never stepped foot in a church before, so let's be here to pray with them and encourage them and believe that they think they're coming for a convoy, but maybe they're going to encounter Jesus in a way that they never thought. And so that's what we did. And it was incredible. It was really amazing that the church rallied around it. We had incredible volunteers. We stayed open from 10 in the morning till 10 at night, serving 3 different hot meals every single day with that Red Seal chef from Toronto, Peter. He was amazing.
Yeah.
And his whole Polish team that came and served. And we just loved on people. And a lot of them, would come during the day. They would come to our services on Thursday night. They would come to our services on Sunday. And there was just a real incredible buzz that people would walk into the church and they'd just begin to weep and cry and say they've never felt anything like this, like the love and the unity. And so we knew we did something right.
100%. And no terrorists showed up, did they?
Nope.
Nope. These were all good humans that were looking for a place to get their voices out and to unify. In fact, all of Canada coming together in one spot was a unification. Certainly wasn't a division. So Melissa, you had Zillow and you were listening and you know what's coming. And then Rob says, you know what? I read Proverbs, and he says, yeah, I think this is what we can do. When you can, you do. You do it today, not tomorrow. So he took that to heart and said, okay, let's do this. So did a whole bunch of people start showing up to the church on Thursday and Sunday and all throughout the week? Or did it kind of just start to grow?
Rob brings me a coffee every single morning. And so he came with a coffee and I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm wrestling with God. Like, I don't know what to do here, but he told me we're going to stay open and we're going to be a warming center. And I'm like, okay, I'm on it. I got it. I'm already like thinking who am I going to call on, how we're going to do this. And so just this plan starts to like formulate in my head, and I start texting people. It's like 6:00 in the morning. I start texting, we're going to be open. Okay. The trucks are arriving on the Saturday. So we got to be ready. And I mean, we could not have even imagined we went down, we took we took Dax with us. We went down. Our boys weren't really interested in being downtown, when it was minus 30, standing around Parliament Hill. So we took Dax, a bunch of people from the church. I said, we're going. So if you want to come, the whole fringe minority thing had come out. And so I had a Canadian flag and I wrote fringe minority on it and I tacked it to my back, and we went downtown and spent the whole day there. It was absolutely incredible. And, then we went to the church and we started opening every day. And actually the first trucker that came through our doors, so the convoy came on the Saturday, and then Sunday afternoon, there was a guy named Jody who came with his 2 teenage boys who decided that they came from PEI and they were the garbage men of the city, literally, like single-handedly. I'm sure others jumped in, but that's what they decided to do. That's how they decided to serve. They went
wonderful.
Garbage. And I'm telling you, our downtown core had never been cleaner. And so they were the first ones in. And then later that night, a trucker named Sheldon came in, who's become a very good friend. Him and the guys were on the line on Nicholas Street, were actually the first guys arrested that morning. And so we've become very close with all of those guys. I would say their family. And so I can't even tell you how, we were waiting every day, like for truckers to come in, and it was slow going because everybody wanted to be downtown. And so word started to get out. People were taking our business cards and going and handing them out. And then, they'd show up and the people at Coventry would come in and get a hot meal and, warm up. And then donations started to come in. I mean, you can't even imagine how much stuff was coming in: blankets, jackets, hand warmers, baby wipes. I still have baby wipes and toothpaste and toothbrushes at the church from the trucker convoy. I'm not even kidding.
I believe you.
We didn't know what to do with the stuff. Food was coming in. Our food pantry was full. Our free store, we run a free store every week where it's like a secondhand store that's run entirely by volunteers and entirely by donations, and the community comes and shops for free twice a week. It was full to the rim. with stuff. It just kept coming and coming. You know, the mission, the food banks that we have here, they were stocked. They were putting out statements saying we can't take any more food. We have no room. We're at capacity. It was wild, the abundance that came with it. So it was slow going at first, but then once people started to hear about Bikers Church, and then when they experienced the first church service,
right,
that first service where the convoy was here was standing room only, and it was wild. People would just come walk in the door and stop on the carpet right at the front door, and they'd start bawling their eyes out. The Holy Spirit was so thick in that place. God's presence was so sweet and thick. They just couldn't even not cry. And everybody said it. This feels like home.
Yeah.
So we were just like, oh my gosh. I've said this so many times, but I feel like God put something so precious in our hands to steward. And I'm like looking at this thing and I'm looking at God like, are you sure you want us to carry this? Like,
I'm sure for some of them it was like a pilgrimage for them. So they kind of found themselves in the place of faith from Saskatchewan, from PEI, from wherever they were. Maybe their churches were locked down and still doing that, and then they can find you. It might have been pretty amazing for some of the people, I think.
You know what? There were people, and I've said this to Bethan so many times, that God has gone to great lengths to get people's attention through Convoy. He used Convoy because there are people that did not know God before, but we had a guy that like heard God's voice in his truck. He told us a story. He heard God's voice and he said, you're not just going to hear the horns of the trucks. You're going to hear the horns of heaven. This is an unchurched man who doesn't know the Bible, doesn't like speak like this, and we're actually going to go and stay with him for a week.
Nice.
I mean, his family, he's become like a brother to us. So
we're coming to Alberta.
Yeah, we're coming to Alberta.
Yeah. Where? We're going to be in Alberta.
In Calgary, around Calgary.
Black Diamond?
Yeah.
Black Diamond.
And when?
Next week. We leave Monday.
And then you're here for a week.
Yep.
I might catch the tail end of you. I might be there on the 20th, 21st or something like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll stay in contact. Maybe if I can see the back of your bike's driveway or something, that'd be cool. I'm not sure how you're getting out here, but if you're taking a bike, that'd be cool.
Well, we're going to fly.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're bringing our kids. Our 3 kids are coming with us, and we're going to go have a Wild West adventure. So, yeah, it's the relationship.
Stampede for you?
Yeah, we're going to do Stampede. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Yeah.
And are you going to come here to relax and not protest, or what is your plan there? Like, is Dax going to get out there and do some work?
Well, like it's a family holiday. Maybe
good. That's what I'm suggesting. Maybe park the protest for a week and then enjoy yourselves.
This is like, it's a family vacation. We're off, we're down,
Good.
We don't have trouble with that. So, the relationships that have come out of Convoy, I mean, we've lost a lot of family. We've lost a lot of friends for what we've done. And I really have to say that the relationships that have come from Convoy have been so healing, and they've been so sweet and rich and such love that it's hard to imagine that you've only known these people for a year. It really is. It feels like it's been an absolute lifetime, and there's so much safety and so much trust. And I've said it many times, and people are probably sick of me saying it, but I feel like we've survived the trauma of war together. And so we're bonded in such a deep way. It was like we're going hard and fast, in relationships. And it's been a really beautiful part of what's come. COVID hasn't been all bad. It hasn't.
No.
It's given us some really beautiful, beautiful things that were not a part of our lives before. So we're okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're okay with things the way they've panned out.
Everything happens for a reason, and there's a plan for all of this. I think you're starting to see what that plan is, and it might be unity and bringing us back together after some of the years we just had. All right, so cool. So now the church got up to 500 members. You guys grew quick over that period. Convoy shows up. You got your first truckers show up. I think I saw a comment from Chris Dacey in the comments here that he was one of the ones that went to your church, and he cried the first time he was there. I think he also mentioned he's cried a couple more times since he's been there as well. So it impacted him a lot. Yeah, there it is right there. From Chris. I bawled my eyes out the first time there and a few times since. Yeah, you go, brother. Yeah. So you did impact a lot of people. Oh, and Chris also says I found a home there. And he's praying. That's a lovely thing. So during the convoy, people were coming to the church Thursday, Sunday, but you were also going out into the crowd as well. You went at least one time with Dax. Did you do that more often? Like, did you do that daily, or was the outreach more at the church?
Well, like outreach is something that we do weekly at the church. Like the community outreach that happens weekly. We give bread away. Cobb's Bread does a huge donation every week, and so we go pick up bread, and we have a team that bags it, and we give it out for free to the whole community. We have our free store, which is open twice a week, and before COVID, we ran a drop-in, and that when we at the height of it, right before we closed, we were getting about 250 people every week coming in for a hot meal. And to just spend time, in a warm facility, use the bathroom, play pool. We have pool tables and dartboards. I mean, it's kind of cool. So yeah, we had 250 people coming every week for drop-in. We stopped that part of it because actually the ladies that were in charge of that ministry, they retired through this because they realized like how hard they were working, and they had a season off. They were both in their 60s and were able to retire. So, we were happy to let them do that. And so we haven't picked that part up again, but COVID allowed us to change a lot of things, and it's been really, really great. And so, when the ministry year kicks off in September, hopefully there'll be some new things happening at Bikers Church. But yeah, we've just ramped up since Convoy. We haven't slowed down. We're ramping up because we have to. We've got 500 people now to care for every week. So it's been pretty incredible.
Absolutely. And I think you're right that COVID changed a lot of perspectives. One of them was trust in government, and another one was trust in media. And then that might have helped the falling out of trust there and faith in your government and media. That might have assisted some people to find faith somewhere else. So that might have opened the door for some people. When you couldn't believe your government or the media anymore, what can you believe? Scripture is one place. So going to the church is one place you can find some faith there. So maybe that assisted you as well, and that's why you're seeing a good trend and people are staying. So even though the convoy's over, you're still keeping at least 500 people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every week. Yeah, we have about 500.
That's awesome. So now I'm going to take you through near the end of the convoy. So February 10th, 11th, 12th in this area where there's a rumor coming out that there's going to be some EA. They're talking about bringing police in. They're talking about getting harsh. And then on Valentine's Day of all days, my birthday, he drops the EA. So happy birthday, Jason, and happy Valentine's Day, Canada. He drops the EA. So you get to hear this news, and I'm sure at first you were probably, like the rest of us, a little surprised that he did that. There was a lot of people thinking, nah, he's not going to go that far. But he did. And when that happened, what was your first response to that news? Were you concerned, or did you think not much will come of this? What was your first response to hearing he's invoked the Emergency Act for Canada?
I know when he invoked it, I thought, ooh, this is going to get interesting to see how far the government's going to push it when it comes to dealing with it. The fact that they invoked it, but now how were they going to
utilize it?
Yeah. And so you started to see this, not even a slow drip, it just the aggression. And so we were ready. We were ready to handle whatever was going to come our way to the church. We didn't know if the government was going to come down hard on the church, because we had stayed open and we're almost like a safe haven for them. So were they going to put restrictions around our building? So we were kind of prepared for all of that stuff, but I don't think anybody was ready for how it played out and how devastating it was, not just for our city, but for our country and the black spot it is now on our country. Yeah.
So are you referring to the overstepping or the violence or both of it?
Both of it.
You're referring? Okay.
Yeah, both of it. Absolutely. The overreach, the violence.
cruelty towards Canadian citizens.
I was like, that doesn't look like our country. It didn't look like
now
our country.
Now you would have had the juxtaposition of the violence coming from the government and the insanity, but you also had the peace and the passion from the people at the same time. So even though what the government was doing was horrible to the people, you could look at the people and go, wow, you're taking the violence, you're standing up, but you're not fighting back. You're not being the aggressor. You're not causing more problems. So that must have been beautiful to watch how the people were handling it.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely it was.
And you can probably see God in that one, because there's a lot of patience and tolerance, and you have to take a lot of pain in order to get through that.
Yeah.
Well, we had like Danny Bulford has become a very precious friend through all of this. Mm-hmm. And he actually came to the church before Convoy even happened. It was like God, Bethan as well. God was like bringing some pretty key players, that we would need each other. He was bringing them to us, and they kind of, for whatever reasons, found their way to Bikers Church. Oh, I heard about you guys. You're not masking, you're not doing all the things, so we thought we'd check you out. And I mean, our hearts were just bonding with people, and people were going through really horrible times. Really horrible times. Most of us, we have a like mind, and so wouldn't put a mask on our face. So, you're getting persecuted just going to the grocery store or to Shoppers Drug Mart, so it was comforting to be together, to be with one another. And a lot of people had family who were shunning them and saying, please, we'd prefer it if you didn't attend, family functions anymore. So, we were finding great comfort with one another. And I remember Danny Bulford saying, like, we have to remain peaceful. Mm-hmm. We have to remain peaceful. We can't win any other way. And so he, there were a lot of people giving out that message, remain peaceful.
Yep. Yeah, I remember when I heard the convoy was headed to Ottawa, the thing that I warned people and what I went through my head is, don't block a single ambulance. Don't break a single nose. Don't black a single eye. And make sure that if violence comes to you, you stay meek and stand your ground, but don't bring the violence to them. Because I thought as soon as there was one broken nose or one blocked ambulance, that whole thing would have been a lot worse for us. So I'm glad that didn't happen.
But I think that's what the city was expecting.
I think that's what the PMO was expecting.
It never ever happened. Like I said, it was. I thought it was better than Canada Day going down there. On the weekend.
The numbers prove you right. Like the crime and the violence numbers prove you right. And we got that out of the POEC. Yeah. According to the POEC, those 24 days were the least violent days per capita than even Canada Day. Canada Day during its 2-day festivals will have more violence than the 24 days. And this is just the police charges and the police numbers that we're using from the POEC. Yeah. So look, the numbers support that too. Violent crimes were down. All the really nasty stuff in the downtown was down, because how could it happen? Everybody's there making sure things aren't happening. Yeah. So no, the numbers support that observation of yours, Rob, completely.
Yeah, no. So it was crazy the way that it went down, but we got to remember that God's always working in everything to bring good about it for those who love Him, called by His name, and so we're still seeing the good that come out of what happened over those couple of days.
It's still happening right now. Even your work with Save Canada probably came from that work as well. It brought people together as well. So I believe you're right there, Rob. And in fact, what we can go into now is after the convoy, after those bad days happened, you guys still did some work and you did Rolling Thunder. Do you want to talk to me about what Rolling Thunder was?
Well, that one was interesting. Because really our role in Rolling Thunder was they just wanted me to come and do really a bike blessing.
I was in on the planning, the planning part of it, because I'm in Ottawa and we're Bikers Church, and you've got bikers from all over coming to Ottawa. So, it was just giving like kind of the lay of the land and the culture and what's good and what's not good, and working with the police liaisons and trying to make it, the best event possible. And so but that was just me as Melissa McKee. It wasn't necessarily, representing Bikers Church. I was just
Right.
helping with the motorcycle part of it because I'm in that community here in Ottawa, and I know the routes. Take a good motorcycle ride, and so we planned a couple of routes for the riders to go on. And
yeah, it was supposed to be pretty simple. It was supposed to be the morning ride around the War Memorial, then back, and then they were going to branch out and do some other stuff. And so they asked if we would put together a couple of rides for them, and so we did 3 different rides.
Which we did, yeah.
That they could use, and that was really our kind of involvement. I prayed a blessing over the ride that morning, but we were not aware that they had actually put our address and name on their flyer and service time.
Oh, wow.
On their flyer. So everyone thought that we were the home base for us. And so we started to get calls like crazy. People were saying, what the heck's going on? We had police dropping by and visiting and saying, okay, can you tell us about this event? I'm like, what event are you talking about?
Well, the city took away our parking, actually. So our church is built in a community and there's no parking lot. It's very odd because back in the 50s, when everyone went to church, you had a church that was in your community and you attended there. And so you walked. So they didn't build a parking lot at our building. We maybe have, 10 or 12 spaces like on our church property for vehicles, but that's it. So when you have a church of 500, we're steadily growing. And then, a bunch of people are going to be in town for Rolling Thunder. So there's definitely going to be some heavier traffic, but that wasn't out of the ordinary. But the city took away our parking and they started it on the Thursday.
Your street parking.
Yeah.
They took away all the street parking. They called it
for 2 blocks deep, every which way around the church, 2 blocks deep. They put up special event parking signs. And so the neighbors were getting upset with us. They thought we had requested.
Right. So they can't park.
Right. Because they couldn't park their cars either. And we were like, no, that's not us. We didn't even know. So Rob got on the phone right away with the city. I mean, you can imagine what that's like, press 1, press 2 to go back to main menu. You couldn't get anybody on the phone. Mm-hmm. And it turned out that it was our city councilor who requested it. And he lied to our faces about it.
Fleury? Who was your counselor?
Yeah, at the time it was Fleury.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember he was in that area and he did testify at the POEC. What a gentleman, that man. Parlez-vous français? Comment ça va?
Yeah. Yeah, he's a piece
I remember him.
So,
but he didn't win he lost the election though, right? He's gone, or he didn't run again?
Yeah,
he's gone now?
Run again?
Yeah, he didn't run again.
Yeah, he didn't run again. So
I think he knew why.
Okay. We lose our parking and we've got 300 people, 400 people potentially coming to church on Thursday and Sunday. And so we're like, what are we going to do? So actually it was Dave from Live from the Shed showed up and he's like, I heard about the parking. Let's do a live. And I had just come back from visiting Pat King in prison. And, Dave shows up. And so we do this interview and people put pressure on the city, so much so that the next day they came and took down all the signs.
Really? That was quick. That's good news. So no public pressure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But then come Sunday morning, Rob's always at the church really early. He likes to go in and pray and, just make sure everything's all right. And, we have to clean up crack pipes and dirty condoms and underwear and all kinds of stuff around our church weekly. Really, there's lots of stuff that goes on. So, we just make sure everything's okay. And so he gets there early and he sends me some photos. Somebody's done graffiti all over our building.
Right. I read about this. Keep going.
They egged our front doors. They threw thumbtacks down the alley, for people riding their motorcycles to, ruin their tires. And it was quite the morning. And I burst into tears. And then he's like, babe, don't cry. God's going to work this for our good. And so I finished getting ready and I go to the church and already there's every mainstream media outlet is standing across the street from the church.
Wow. That's odd for them to care.
Yeah, it is.
Well, they were more concerned with Rolling Thunder. They weren't concerned about the graffiti. They were concerned the Rolling Thunder, the bikes showing up, and because we were on the list, and I refused to talk to any of them. They all came across and tried to get an interview. I said, no, you've never been interested in anything we do as a church before, but now that it's a hot topic, you want to say something. I said, so tell you what, you want to come and find out what we do as a church? Why don't you come by next week? I'll give you a tour. I'll sit down with you. I'll show you our free store. I'll show you our food pantry, our backpack giveaway, and I'll take you on a whole tour of the church if you're that interested.
And that was packed. You had all of them show up, right?
Yeah, they were just right across the street.
Oh yeah,
right across the street.
Pictures of everything. Yep. And they stayed all day. Poor Josh Pringle got such a bad sunburn that day, standing out in the sun waiting. And there were a lot of people. We guesstimate that there were 700 people at church that day. So we had set up our courtyard because we were counting. We want to stay on track with the fire code, and so we had our safety team. We're counting people. So as soon as we hit the number, nobody else was allowed in the sanctuary. We had our motorcycle lounge downstairs, all set up with coffee. We were live streaming the service. And we also had all our picnic tables and chairs set up in the courtyard with speakers that were, that was streaming at least the audio out there. And then, it was just a buzz with cars were parked on our front lawn. They were parked everywhere for 10 blocks. People were walking like up to 10 blocks to get to church. They were parking so far away. And so one lady said, I parked at the mall and took the bus over.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because she had heard that our parking got taken away. And so that was one of the best days that we have ever had, to be very honest with you. And, we got to shake a lot of hands that day and hug a lot of people who were hurting, and a lot of the Rolling Thunder veterans who suffer from terrible PTSD and have done unspeakable things to fight for our freedom. And we've been... I feel like all of this for them is such a huge slap in the face. So honestly, we were more than happy to be part of it and to help out and do what we can. Because everything that we've done, we've been pointing people to Jesus. Right. Every single thing that we've been involved in, we've been pointing people to Jesus. And that's what we're going to do, unapologetically.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, some eggs and some tacks, it didn't stop your day at all. You started off upset about it. Rob said, no, don't worry about it. We got this. And then you had 700 people show up and shake a bunch of hands.
Yeah.
Oh, the hugs, honestly. CTV and Global and CBC, who else was there? The National, everybody was outside watching me hug every single person that walked in the door. So... sure, go ahead. See how much we love people here. It's great.
Now, did you get the impression they were trying to vilify the events, or were they just trying to cover it as they were?
Yeah, but I think once they got there and realized that we had been graffitied and with some pretty obscene stuff, that they couldn't, no matter how hard they tried, bend the narrative to make it seem like, well, look at this church here. They're racist. They're homophobes. They're anti-everything. They realized really quick, okay, we can't say anything about them.
Yeah, not this one at all. Now, have they done that before? Have they labeled you guys that way?
Yes.
No.
Oh, yes, before. No. The guy that glued the Nazi. Yeah, we had Nazi signs.
No, not before the convoy.
Door.
That was during the convoy, though.
Oh, yeah, not before the convoy. No, my gosh, we were so loved. Before the convoy, we were so loved.
Mm-hmm.
Since the convoy, the media has fallen out of love with you, and they're
not the
harsh now?
The media,
some people in our community.
Yeah, our community.
Not all our community. There's some people in our community. Yeah, we do a backpack giveaway every year. We did a Santa parade every year where we've got a guy, our founder of our church. He actually looks like Santa. He's got a custom Santa suit. We would rent a sleigh, and we would take Santa throughout the community. We do a parade route, giving away candy canes. So yeah, the community loved what we did.
You're not too far away. You just need a bit more white in your beard.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, you're the young Santa now. You'll get there. Okay, so you guys do a lot of community outreach then as well. So around Christmas and stuff, do you do Christmas stuff, of course? Do you do like give out turkeys or anything like that?
We do food baskets.
We do for the people in the church, who are struggling. We have a whole food hamper program that's entirely donated. It's so beautiful. And before COVID, we have 2 city emergency shelters right near us. And so We've done a lot of work with and for them to help support them. Adopted one year, we adopted everyone at the Concord Motel who was on the city living list. And so there were 24, I believe, families. We adopted them and provided a beautiful Christmas for every room, every kid, every parent. We did a whole thing. We did a whole, Santa came in his suit, and we had hot chocolate and donuts and all kinds of fun stuff, and gave them all their gifts, and it was really, really fantastic. And like Rob said, we do a backpack giveaway every year so that we've got families that show up and can't afford to buy new backpacks and lunch bags and school supplies. We do a big block party with a free barbecue. Every week we give out bread. We have our free store. Before COVID, we did a bit of food rescue. And so we would go drop that off, in different places, sharing with other organizations. We've supported our food bank in Vanier is the highest used per capita in all of Ontario.
Okay.
So we've supported them. We've worked with them. We love our community, and we love the people in it, the broken ones, the down and outers, the people doing stuff in our courtyard. I mean, I honestly, when I get to work every day, I don't know what I'm going to find.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's people sleeping on our front steps. Sometimes there's tents in our courtyard. We have a lot of prostitutes that come through. We have a lot of poverty. We have a lot of refugees that are coming because, we give away free things and they can't afford. They don't know where to find stuff. So we've got some resources. It's quite a beautiful ministry that we've got going. And a lot of that was there before we even arrived. So we're not taking credit for any of that. Bikers Church has been an incredible force in Vanier.
That sounds like a very needed one too.
Okay.
Now, yeah. So can you let me know, do you have, other than your growth because of your trend and you guys got popular, are there more people that need stuff versus before COVID, or is it about the same, or is it getting less? So if you kind of look back at how much need there is it grown since COVID?
It's grown every single week.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got about 500 people coming through our free store every month. We're open Tuesdays and Thursdays. We've got, it's like a mini value village, secondhand store with housewares, with linens, with clothing, toys, arts and crafts, Christmas decorations. Any number of things. We get some crazy things in the free store, but we don't take large furniture because we don't have the space and we don't have the resources to move them. But, 500 people are coming a month. And there are some families even in our church who have more month left than there is money. So yeah, it's been definitely since COVID, there's been a trend of more need for sure.
And you've seen the type of people change as well, because you usually have your base that would always need some need, but you're seeing more and more people that typically wouldn't, but here they are now. Yeah,
like both parents are working and they just can't afford it. Food's too expensive. Our grocery bill has risen. Well, we're raising a lot of teenagers here right now, but and that's sacrificial giving love. We just do that with joy. But yeah, this we're working to eat. That's for sure.
Do you have federal employees coming for service?
No, we haven't had any federal. I don't know
that you know of, at least. There might be some visiting, but
yes, we have.
Yeah, and need for baskets and food baskets and stuff like that as well.
Yep.
Yeah, because you have a huge population of federal employees there, so I'd be surprised if some of them didn't need help.
And for some of the ones who decided not to get vaccinated, who were put on leave without pay for 7 to 9 months, they accrued a lot of debt. So they might make a good salary, but they've got 7 to 9 months to catch up on. And so, sometimes they can't afford birthday gifts for their kids or our puppy here.
That's okay. Philip interrupted when Jeremy was doing the interview too, so it's okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if you know who Philip is, but that's Jeremy's little sidekick. It's his goat.
Very well aware. I actually have quite a soft spot in my heart for Jeremy McKenzie, and I cannot wait to meet him one day.
Yeah, he's a great gentleman, and he's got a very big heart. And
Yes.
Philip, I would stay away from him, though. He's a troublemaker. Yep. So now that Rolling Thunder was a success, it helped you guys grow. You got some good attention and bad attention. You even got some media attention. But at the end of it, you had a good time. So even with the eggs and the graffiti and attacks in the alleyway, you still had 700 people show up and you had a good time. Now, after the parade, after the Rolling Thunder was done and this event was done, what was the next mission you guys went on? What did you guys start to do again? Was this when Save Canada started to get into your sites, or something else happened between Rolling Thunder and Save Canada?
We just continue to operate what we do every single day as a church. So those events didn't change really anything we do. They just added more people to the mix.
Mm-hmm.
And so every day we do a couple things. We feed and we clothe people. And so regardless of what's coming into town, those are things that we do every single day. And we're just doing them more now with more and more people that are in need.
And it's not just the clothes and the food. We're tending hearts.
Right.
There's a lot of heart stuff that has gone on, with families being ripped apart through this, and divorced parents who one parent wants their kids to be vaccinated and one doesn't. You've got people who've lost their jobs. You've got people who have declared bankruptcy. You've got people who are vax injured. There's oh my gosh, just a whole number of things that are going on with people's hearts: depression, anxiety, fear, addiction. All of those things were, we had a lot of that before, and now we have more of it. So the tending of hearts is the biggest thing that we're doing, actually. And it's not just people in Ottawa, because now we've got people from coast to coast that came through town that, we became friends with, and they call us and they need advice, and they just need to talk about something, or, they need some counsel. They need wisdom. They want us to pray with them. That happens all the time. All the time.
Never stops. No.
That doesn't stop. And so that would be the greatest need that there is, more than the clothing and the food. It's the tending of hearts that we're doing.
There's a lot of therapy and a lot of spiritual things that people need, and psychological as well. Now, my question I have for a lot of pastors is, where do you turn when you need some help and when you need to talk? Because everybody's turning to you, but where do you turn? Other than God and your faith, do you have somebody that you can turn to that's shepherding you as well?
Yeah, we've got a lot of great relationships outside of our sphere of influence here that we could lean into, that we could call on, just, hey, we're struggling, or hey, we're going through this. Can you just pray? This is what we're facing at the church. Do you have any advice? How would you handle it? Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're and I think that enables us to continue to do what we do.
Right.
Because
every once in a while you got to recharge yourself so you can continue.
Exactly. It's very easily in ministry for it to grind you up and spit you out, because it's more than a job. It's a calling, and it's a grind. Every single day is a grind. You never know what you're going to face. You never know what you're going to be up against, but there's such a love and compassion to do it that it just keeps you going.
Absolutely. And there's this thing called vicarious trauma, which is where you're exposed to other people's trauma, but you can also feel it yourself. And this can also lead to types of PTSD as well for people that help. So whether you're a witness or you're a supporter or whatever it is that you're doing, there is that problem that can happen as well. You aware of that, and how do you deal with when you take on other people's pain, and how do you deal with it so you don't take it on too much so that hurts you as well?
I'll answer that. I feel like we went and saw The Sound of Freedom last night, the two of us and a couple people from the church. And I looked at Rob on our way home and said, I could do that job. I feel like God wired me in such a way that I am able actually to carry people's trauma in a way that I don't take it home with me. I mean, there are times for sure where, I'll be in my room and crying, about something. And I'm just, he's like, what are you crying about? I'm like, oh, this family, this is happening. And so I definitely do carry it. Do you want to just let the dog out? I will just let the dog out really quick.
Sure.
I'm stewarding, right? I'm shepherding. but I'm not owning. I can't own this stuff. So we actually are good at leaving stuff at the door. When we come home, there are times and there are certain situations that we will be broken over, and we allow that to happen. But our home, we still have to be mom and dad. We still have to be a daughter and a son. We still
husband and wife.
A husband and wife. That's right. We have a marriage that needs to stay healthy and strong. So I feel like we figured out how not to let the things that we see and have to be part of, how they don't crush us.
Mm-hmm.
We don't allow ourselves to be crushed by it. And like Rob said, we do have people that we can call. We have good friends in New York that are pastors as well, that do hard things the way we do. And we call them and we chat with them and we visit with them a couple of times a year. And we get refreshed, and we have pastors that we're listening to, like with podcasts and sermons that are feeding us. And we have a person at the church who is our lead prayer person, and she's a wonderful woman, and she's like a covering for us. And so whenever I meet with her weekly to keep my heart and my mind in check. And I keep, to stay humble and to stay submitted and hearing from the Lord. And so I have that in my life. Rob has men that speak into his life. And so we're not doing this alone. And
Great.
God has equipped us and wired us in such a way that, we could have 30 people for lunch. We can have a house full of people. But when we close our door, we're alone. And it's just the two of us, and we protect it with everything that we have. We protect our marriage. So yeah, I think we've figured out, not, we haven't figured everything out, but that part is like, we know how to do this job and not let it crush us. But there are times where we got to hit our knees and say, okay, Lord, like, this is a big one and I don't know what to do here. So we carry it in a way that we're burdened, but it's not messing with us.
That sounds perfect. The ability to deal with it and understand the burden and how to chop it down and not let it crush you is a very good skill to have. Are you teaching others? So are you teaching people how to handle trauma, handle these kind of things? Are you creating additional pastors? Are you guys able to expand your expertise and skill set to other people?
Well, we do have some influence with people that allow us to speak into their lives. And I think what enables us to be able to do this is the foundation that we have of knowing, number one, who we are in Christ and what God has called us to. And so we know that God has called us to this. So he's equipped us and he's given us everything we need to be able to walk this through. Doesn't mean there's not going to be difficult times and hard seasons, but when you know who you are in Christ and that foundation, and that hope that we have is so rock solid that it's not shaken. So our biggest way that we try to encourage people that are stepping into this, that are maybe walking with somebody, is number one, you need to know who you are in Christ first, because you're going to struggle with that. And what somebody might share with you could really throw a curveball at you. You might not be able to handle that. But when you know who you are and that foundation is solid, it's going to equip you to be able to kind of walk through that and actually maybe even pick them up and walk them through it.
So you're a foundation builder. You really believe that your foundation needs to be solid so you can build your house and then help your community. And that's kind of the focus there.
Yeah.
We're shepherds. We're shepherds. When we think of an actual shepherd in a field, he carries a staff with a hook on it, and he helps go, no, this way. No, this is the way. And, oiling them up so they don't get bugs on them and they don't get infections. And, we're constantly, like the Bible says, to know your flock. And so we are in our people's lives. We're not the kind of pastors that stay away and say, we're going to provide community for you, but it's over there with them. It's not, it's with us. We literally have people in our home. We do life with people. We're the same behind closed doors that we are in public. And we truly have hearts that love people and we want to shepherd them. And so that's what we're doing all the time. We're always like, course correcting and guiding and speaking into people's lives. Not everybody likes it all of the time, but that's what we're doing, because we want people to be successful in their walk with God, and we want them to be free from their trauma and bad decisions and the consequences that come. And so we're pretty I'd say ruthless in that, because we serve a holy God and he doesn't fellowship with sin. So we're very mindful that the word of God comes first and everything else after.
Beautiful. Now, you guys do some stuff online. Do you guys stream your
our services are
sessions?
streamed.
Services,
They're streamed on. We just stream our Sunday morning service for now, because we do a lot of video work on our Thursday night service. And so even though we pay this enormous streaming fee and licensing fees and CCLI fees, we're still not able to stream some of the video content. So we just do our Sunday morning services streamed. And we've actually switched to making it a little bit more accessible and using YouTube instead of, we were doing Facebook. So now we just post the link on Facebook and we stream it live on YouTube.
Well, that's interesting. Somebody like me can help you stream live even further than that. So if you want it to be Rumble and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, et cetera, I do 8 platforms with this stream. So I'd be able to assist you guys on getting that going. Once you do one, you can get the rest pretty simply.
Okay.
So if you want to expand that, you can just call this guy up. I'll help you with that.
That's awesome.
Now, my next question, what I've been asking a lot of my guests recently is, would you consider doing a podcast show? Something where the two of you are sitting down once a week, talking to people, maybe not Sunday, you're really busy Sunday, but maybe another day. Have you guys considered doing something like that?
I've asked a bunch of times.
I can see why.
To do it. I would be open to it. I never want anything to distract from what God has first and foremost called us to, and that's building the church. We're very, very guarded of that. And I get a lot of requests to come here, to go here, to speak here, to do that.
Get into politics.
And I just,
of course, I can see that.
Thing through the vision of our church, which is we want to lead people to become fully devoted followers of Christ. And so if it doesn't fit into that, then I steer away from it. So if we did start a podcast, it would be through that lens of how does it funnel through our vision to leading people to become fully devoted followers of Christ.
Well, I'll make a recommendation. So I met a pastor in Manitoba. His name's Pastor Adam. You can see what his video. I did an interview with him. He has a horrific story. He's a disabled gentleman, can't walk, no arms, no legs, disabled at birth, but he's on his 7th child. His story is his 5th child, the birth during COVID in the Manitoba hospital. It was such a horrific incident for him that he now does home birth. So his sixth son was a home birth. His 7th son's going to be a home birth. And one of the things we spoke about was home church, because during the lockdowns and other things, a lot of people started to do home church. So you got home birth, homesteading, homeschooling. Home church was something that he was talking about. And there might be something there to help people to understand how to have a home church and how to have a flock and that kind of stuff, that maybe some sort of podcast might be able to assist people to learn how to do that. If you want to start teaching people how to shepherd, that could be a path forward, because there's a lot of people out there that won't do this lockdown thing again, but they definitely want to have their faith. So
I hope there's a ton of people who won't do it again.
There's a ton. There's a ton that are worried about the church itself being targeted for lockdown. That's why home church is starting to become a bigger thing in the rural areas. So there might be an opportunity to either shepherd through home churching, so they can watch your stream and use that at home, or learn how to shepherd at home. Those might be some good lessons.
As culture kind of unfolds and as we move forward, it's not going to get easier for the church. It's going to get a lot
correct.
Yeah.
And what we talk about now with will be labeled as hate speech. And I think that time is just around the corner. It's not far off.
Right.
So, I
think you're right.
Be very, very beneficial to letting people know, we might have to start meeting underground when it comes down really hard, but definitely in homes, because that might be all that's accessible.
Right. It might be just you and your neighbors, and that's it for the next little bit. And that's what he's preparing for, because he's a pastor as well. But he's preparing to have his home open during those kind of situations if it happens again.
Yeah.
And I can imagine there's a lot of people like him who have pastor experience, but not necessarily hosting, not necessarily taking it on, not necessarily reaching out to the community. So there might be something there, maybe. Yeah, I'd be happy.
Maybe you're planting a seed today.
Yeah, no, I'm a homegrown guy. I'm a grassroots type of guy, and I'm putting seeds all over this country because I believe Canadians talking to Canadians is the new media. We need to get rid of the old one, and the new one is nobody in the middle, so we can have direct conversations.
Yeah.
And I'm encouraging a lot of people to do exactly that. Hopefully, I think I got 3 or 4 shows going to be spinning up since I've started this effort, and it'd be great to see Faith be one of the shows that we can tune into.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. Maggie said yes. Maggie Hope Braun's going to consider doing one. She's very active politically, and so she's got a lot that she can say. Chris Deering is considering doing one about setting up his homestead and how he's doing that to teach people how a vet injured is still able to do a homestead. And Rob Anders out in Alberta, he's thinking about putting one together. He's a founding member of the Conservative Party of Canada who doesn't really lean that way anymore. And he's more independent than he was ever a conservative, I guess, now. So there's a lot of new information, I think, that'll be coming out. And Randy Hilliard, he's still doing his Scuttlebutt one. Scuttlebutt. Sorry, I keep getting that wrong. Yeah. So I would encourage you, if you need any of the technical assistance, reach out to guys like me. We can make that easy for you. But sitting down to have your mission and what you would do with your podcast would be something you can work out. But when you're ready, and if you want to give it a shot, let me know. We can certainly help you with that.
Gosh, I feel like people are tired of hearing us already.
No, guarantee you not. Look, I feel the same way. I'm just a political guy out in the bush on a Starlink and on solar, and I'm doing it. Okay. But, there's people that want to hear calm, rational, intelligent voices. And when you put faith in there, you're definitely going to open up a lot of hearts. So this could be a good time for some of that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I'm just going to encourage you to do that because I think I would tune in and check it out.
Okay.
Cool.
Now, yeah. And if you need anything, don't hesitate. There's a lot of people that'd be happy to help with that. Now, other than that, what was your plan going forward? Do you have any other events that you were thinking about doing in the future? Something like Rolling Thunder coming back next year, anything like that? What does your future hold?
Again, our calendar is usually the same. We're looking at the same events that we do as a church every year. So we know we're coming into the summer. Our summer is very filled with doing a lot of different motorcycle events. So
tell us about the next couple so people can know.
We're actually going to be away on holidays, but we work very closely with a group called BACA, Bikers Against Child Abuse. And so they have their annual ride and fundraiser, which is next week, the 15th of July. And usually we take part in the ride. We kick it off with a blessing. This year, we're going to be doing all the food for them. So Bikers Church will be serving the barbecue and running all the food for them. A couple of weeks ago, we just did a rodeo called Wildman's Rodeo and Stomp, where Bikers Church hosts the whole rodeo, puts it on, serves coffee in the morning, serves the meal in the evening. So we've done that, and we've got about 4 other rodeos that we're going to be hosting over this summer.
These are motorcycle rodeos.
Yeah, motorcycle rodeos.
Yeah, I was wondering because I thought Alberta has the rodeos. I'm wondering what's going on in Ontario.
Picture like a rodeo, but on a motorcycle.
So you do the bowl thing too, and you try to rope and you tie the wheels together, and
we do a figure 8 race.
Yeah, like a barrel race. Guys are on a bike
Yeah.
instead of a horse. So
yeah.
So what we do in the motorcycle community is we serve them. So whatever they need, we come and we serve. So if they need people to run their barbecue or their games or cleaning or whatever, that's what we come. That's how we serve the community. That's definitely an outreach arm of Bikers Church, because it's kind of an untapped community of people who need the Lord. I mean, whoever needs the Lord, right? It's not just bikers, but that definitely is something that Hillbilly, our founder, he founded Bikers Church, and Granny said the owners. Nobody owns the church. The people own the church, but Hillbilly and his wife Nelia, they're the founders of Bikers Church, 2 of the original. And Hillbilly came out of a life of addiction and crime, and he's like tattooed, and he's an old biker, calls himself Old Scooter Trash, and he didn't fit into the church, but he found God, and he wanted to be a Christian and be discipled, and there was nowhere for him to go. And so he started Bikers Church. He thought, I'm going to start something for people like me. And that's how Bikers Church was started. So, we've got to be in the community. And a lot of churches, kind of wind down for the summer and slow down their programs. And we amp up in the summer because we've got all the rodeos to host and our big block party for, back to school. And people still need small groups, and they need touch points throughout the summer to be still connected. And so we're not slowing down. We're actually amping up, just period, in all different ways. Yeah.
That's great.
So coming into our fall, we'll do our back to school party that we do for the community. That's where we give away 200 knapsacks full of school supplies to families that need them. Leads us into our kind of fall into Christmas. And then we do 2 different banquets at Christmas. We do a community banquet and a bikers banquet. And then into the new year, and then it all starts over again.
Rinse and repeat, do it all again. Just a different year on it.
Yeah. And so we're always looking at how we can make events better. Yeah. Do we need to do this event again? What could we do instead of it? How could we bless more people? So we're constantly always evaluating what we do. We don't just want to do something for the sake of doing it. But again, funneling everything through our mission is this accomplishing, leading people to become a fully devoted follower of Jesus.
Well, speaking of blessing people, one of the things I get to do, which is a blessing to me, is I get to meet a ton of people, especially young people. And somebody else just popped up in my lobby and wants to say hi to you. Sure. You're touching a lot of lives, and I don't know if you'll need me to explain to you who this is, but you might recognize the name. Hey, Dax, how are you doing?
We know her.
You know her? You're familiar with her? I've heard about her. You were going through your chemo when she was being developed. So, Dax, thank you so much for joining me. I was kind of sneaky with you this morning. I said, hey, I'm doing something today. Do you want to pop on and say hi? And she didn't hesitate at all. She said, let's do this. So thank you very much, Dax. And nice to meet you, by the way.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Yeah, so you know these 2 people? They've been around a bit. There's one with the ponytail thing in her hair, and this other guy with the almost Santa Claus beard. You know these people?
I know them a little bit.
Yeah, and you wanted to say something to them?
Well, I'm just very grateful for them. They're my parents, obviously. I love them, but that they support me unconditionally in everything I do, and that me and my mom, we have this term like freedoming. So we get to freedom together, and I just love it, and I'm very grateful for them.
It's a verb. Freedom is a verb in our house. Yeah. We're going freedoming.
That's awesome. So that means you're going out there to fight for Canada?
Yep.
Yeah. So, Dax, when you got involved with Save Canada, was it a hard thing for you, or was it pretty easy for you to get involved in something like that because of where you came from?
I'd say it was fairly easy. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's your favorite part of working with Save Canada and Josh Alexander and the boys?
I love what we're doing. I love the mission. That we're Christ-centered, and that we're putting Christ first, but we're trying to save Canada, basically. That's wonderful. And how do you guys feel about Dax here? Your oldest, she's already out there doing the hard work. How do you feel about that?
And we think it's awesome. Like, what? As parents and raising your kids, especially as pastors' kids, it's a tough slug for them, and it's almost, they should just be in church and they should be doing these things, but they have to get to the place where their relationship with God becomes their relationship with God. They've got to wrestle that out. They've got to figure that out, and it's been great to see Dax do that, and where she's landed, and how she's continuing to move forward in growing in her relationship with God, and just the doors that God is opening for her. So we've become now her cheerleaders. So.
Yeah, I'm a cheerleader too. She's a good leader. She's the one that I got put in contact with in order to work with Josh. She made sure he was there, probably made sure his hair was all combed, all that kind of stuff. It was wonderful. I was able to work with her.
Yeah.
What's that, Bex?
Make sure his shirt was ironed. Yeah, she takes care of lots of things. So we're so proud of her. And we were actually at the protest with Billboard Chris a couple weeks ago, and I stuck with Dax, and we were with the Save Canada boys, and at one point there were some people kind of closing in, and immediately, like, the mom and me wanted to just, reach out, and I was like, no, she's going to do this. She's got to do it. And just the same way I'm doing it, she's got to figure it out and find out where her feet are. And
Good job, Mom.
We got to let her fly. So we're not helicopter parents. We never have been. And we're letting our kids make mistakes and, helping picking them up when they need to be picked up. But she's doing a pretty great job. And she's actually been by our side the entire time, right from the very first, that January 28th on the Hill. She was right there with us because, you know what? Her life was affected greatly by COVID. And so, we were standing up for her. We were standing up for all of the changes and the hard stuff that she was facing. We didn't want her to have that kind of stuff. So we were speaking out. And so now, you know what? There's going to be a time where she surpasses us. And, we want her to go further and farther than we could have ever gone.
That's beautiful. And that's what every parent really does want, Dax. Just so you know, we do want you to exceed us. We do want you to do better than us. And it looks like you're well on your way already, Dax. So thank you very much for helping me meet Josh and doing everything you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome. Cool. Now, you guys mentioned that there's the Save Canada boys, but there's also at least one Save Canada man. And I have another red hat in my lobby.
Oh.
Hello, Chris. How you doing, my friend?
Yes.
Yeah, we have another red hat that says Save Canada and another gentleman that wanted to say hello to Pastor Rob and Melissa. Go ahead there, Chris. Here you are.
Hey guys. Yeah, I've been listening along, and I'm one of those people that was kind of, I guess God found me quite a while ago, but I've been looking for Jesus, and I found you, and I found this new family and this new home, and it's been quite an incredible journey, I have to say. It's changed me in so many ways. Same with more recently I've gotten to know Dax and Josh I've known for quite a while, but all of it just seems to be leading one place, and the common thread is God, is Jesus, right? So it's been incredible. I just wanted to say thank you.
You're welcome.
And yeah, we noticed in your chat that you did go to the church during all of this. Is this when you found it? Is this your first time going there, Chris?
Yeah. I tried going to a few different churches before, and I never really found my place. I never really felt comfortable, and I kind of wandered into Bikers Church more or less alone. And I wrote it in the chat. Like the first time I went in, I just kind of didn't know anybody. I just kind of went in, and I was just overcome. Like I bawled, and not in a bad way. Like it was an experience. And I didn't last too long that first day, but then I kept coming back and kept coming back, and ended up getting baptized there a while back. And it's really become a home for me. So
congratulations. So you got baptized at the Bikers Church?
Yeah. Did that. That's quite a while ago now, but yeah, that was pretty
That's a good day.
Yeah.
So Rob, you remember that day with Chris?
Yeah. In the hot tub. We've got a hot tub. That's what our baptismal tank is, a portable hot tub that we set up. And so we're making his public declaration saying he wants to live for Jesus. He wants everyone to know it.
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps. Like,
can I just say here, like, there are some people that are being just lambasted by opposition, and one of the favorite things to say about Daisy is he's a groomer, and like to spend time with Save Canada. I mean, I've got them here. We're helping like take care of them, and I just it makes my heart so sad that this is the kind of mud that people are slinging. I meet with Daisy kind of regularly, and we chat about all kinds of stuff, and he's growing and he's changing, and Bikers Church is a place for people to come exactly how they are, but to not stay that way. And so, for all these people that are calling names and throwing rocks, I just want to say, like, the growth that we have seen in Chris has been phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And he's got such a soft, tender heart. And those things that people say about him are so horrible and untrue. And it is a privilege to walk with people like Chris, who are willing to say, yeah, you know what? I did some stuff and I'm not perfect, and I'm a work in progress. And so I'll give my time to that all day long. I love you, Daisy.
Yeah, well, obviously, because he's still in your life, he's around your kids, and he's part of your family. So you definitely love this man. Chris,
Yeah.
you want to respond to that?
If I could stop myself from crying here.
There we go. Here's
Yeah,
the open
I
moment.
just,
There you go.
I definitely, it's you guys welcome me, and Melissa, you've gotten to know you quite well. And one thing that comes along with this, there's responsibility, and I really understood that more now. And like Melissa will hold me, it's not just a walk in the park. It's not all hugs. There's lots of hugs, but she's there to remind me and to make sure that I have my eye in the right place, and if I step out of line, she'll let me know, and that's something that I really appreciate, honestly.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Chris. And Melissa, I guess you can say the same thing. Chris has kind of become a son to you almost.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say he's part of our family for sure. I love having him around. He's wonderful, and he's got a really soft heart and a teachable spirit, which is beautiful. He doesn't walk around with an ounce of arrogance. And there are times where I'm like, hey, you need to, don't swear when you're out there representing, when you're live streaming. Clean up your language, just like little things like that. Get my shepherd's hook out, and I'm like, let's bring this in a little bit here. Let's do this better. And so it's like growing people up in the Lord. And Chris is a baby in Jesus, really, because he's just come to God. And this isn't like, there's no religion here. We're not about religion. We are about relationship. And
right,
like I said earlier, we serve a holy God who doesn't want to fellowship with sin. And he loves us the way we are, but too much to leave us the way we are. So we're just helping, and Daisy happens to be one of the guys that's like, when I speak to him, he's like, oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I should. Yeah, I'm going to work at that. I'm going to, I'm going to be better. I'm going to do better. And I love watching that grow. I love watching the progress and and it's not for me, it's for him, because he can handle things way better now than he could before. I'm not talking about me, but like the abuse that Chris takes on a sometimes daily basis from like the other side, that can wear on someone. It can wear on people when you're constantly being called names and accused of horrible things. Those things weigh on people when they're not true. It's a horrible thing. It's a horrible side effect or like a side thing that has happened through all of this. Bikers Church, we've had our share of, I'm going to say persecution lightly. There are people that told us, well, you think you're being persecuted, pack your bags and move to China or Russia, or, that's not what I'm talking about. I live in Canada. We should be able to keep our church open. My husband should be able to preach the gospel without being accused of being a homophobe, a transphobe, like all of these things that people are just slinging. It shouldn't be this way. So we have experienced a measure of persecution. People calling Chris a groomer, they're calling me a groomer, they call us Christo-fascists, and all these horrible names that have, they're so untrue, and it couldn't be further from the truth, actually.
Yeah.
It really is. And my goodness, I'll say, Save Canada boys, they know how to defend themselves. If there was someone that was like going to be grooming them, they wouldn't be having it. So that is, it's just mind blowing that is something that people are even like letting come out of their mouth. It's just wild to me.
Well, here's the thing I'm going to say to you, Melissa. They may not be people. Some of these may just be bots and other things going on. Because when I just mentioned Chris on Twitter, there was 2 people that showed up and did some damage, and we know who they are. So it happens. But Chris is well past that, and I don't think it bothers me at all. It doesn't bother him at all. But Chris, what I'm going to ask you, though, is why don't you grab that shepherd hook and see if you can get these 2 online and get them on a podcast once a week? What do you think about that?
Oh, well, I would love to, honestly. I want to be doing more of that talking stuff. It's something I've wanted to do a long time myself. So actually, we're gonna talk too soon. So anybody who wants to talk, I'll talk to anybody. Let's go.
Yeah, I can hook you up with interviews. I can get you guests. I can help you on that front too. I think Save Canada itself with Dax and Josh should be doing a show. But I absolutely believe there's room for faith as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up here, and I'm going to start with Dax. Thank you very much for coming, Dax. You keep it up. You keep his hair straight. You keep his shirt ironed. You do what you can, and I'd love to hear your voice out there as well. And you represent your parents wonderfully. Thank you very much for joining us today, Dax.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. You want to say goodbye to your folks and then probably just turn the corner and see them again?
I'm gonna walk downstairs and see them. Well, love you guys.
Yeah. Take care. Thank you very much, Dax.
Bye.
And then, thank you. And then, Chris, you went through a bit of a journey, and these people are part of that journey for you. And you want to say anything to them before we let you go?
Just thank you, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
Church.
Yeah.
It's not much of a family reunion. You all see each other already, but here you go. I did.
Yeah, we spent some time together today already too, so it's just the way to go. Can't get
Take
enough.
care. Enjoy the rest of your day, Chris. We'll talk to you soon. On Tuesday, actually, a whole interview with you.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Cheers, brother. We'll talk soon. Well, there, folks, you have touched people. You have your daughter that showed up to let you know that, yeah, you mean a lot to her, and she is who she is because of you guys. And we can see that as a people outside of your home, just meeting your family. Like, I just met Dax for the first time, but I was chatting with her in the background. You've done a great job. You're an inspiration to parents like me who are definitely going to keep fighting the indoctrination in the schools and the government trying to take control of my children's education. I homeschool. I'm going to keep doing that. So thank you very much for giving inspiration to people like me when it comes to bringing faith to our children, bringing family back home and working on it that way. And I do believe that's a path forward. I think that will help correct Canada. So thank you very much for being that kind of inspiration for people like me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having us and allowing us to have our voices be heard. So.
Well, your voice should be out there, so I'm going to get you at least once a week. You may not get rid of me now. I'm pretty determined. I'm a determined type of guy, and I think we should hear more from you.
Nothing wrong with that.
Good.
Very good.
Let's talk about Aaron Aldridge next time.
I don't even know who that is, but happy to talk about what you want to talk about. But what I am going to ask you is so go ahead.
I said, you don't know who Aaron Aldridge is?
No, you can tell me who.
Shirtless guy from the convoy. Remember him? He wore like a Canadian toque and gloves, and he was shirtless the entire convoy.
I'm sorry, I don't. Did Viva go talk to him? Because I wasn't sticking around.
Quite an iconic personality. And anyways, he went to jail for mischief charges, as most of our friends have experienced, and did 159 days before he got a bail hearing. And then he came and lived with us for 7 months.
Sorry, why 150? Okay, here's a story. We're going to have to get into this, Melissa. I think we'll talk.
Let's talk about Aaron Aldridge next time, because there's a story too. So yeah, we were his sureties for 7 months until he could get back to Alberta. He was gone from home for 459 days.
Okay, I would want to talk to you about that one. So thank you for bringing it to my attention. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask Rob if you can kind of close with a prayer.
Sure. Yeah, I can do that for sure. Well, Father, we just thank you. Thank you for your faithfulness in everything, Lord, that we can trust you, we can lean into you. Thank you for guys like Jason who are providing platforms like this to allow healthy dialogue just to go forward, because that's how so many things could be solved, by just getting people down and chatting. So Lord, I pray you continue to give him favor in all that he does. Lord, that you would open up doors for him, provide guests for him that would really help move the ball forward in seeing Canada become the country you want it to be, this great, incredible country. Lord, I pray for every single one of the viewers, wherever they're at today. Maybe they're kind of wrestling this thing called faith through. I pray that you would reveal yourself to them, make yourself known to them as only you can. You are such an incredible God, and you have a plan and a purpose for every single person that's got breath in their body. So Lord, we're thankful for technology and how you can use it. And we're thankful that, honestly, we believe the best days ahead are ahead for Canada. And we just speak all of that out in your wonderful name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much for that, Rob. And thank you for the prayers. I
You're
appreciate that. And he has blessed me. I got to meet you. I got to meet Melissa. I got to meet Dax. I got to meet Josh. The list goes on. So I believe I'm blessed. So thank you very much, brother.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Melissa.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you.
And we will talk soon, especially Melissa, about my Alberta brother.
Chatting
Hope
again.
so. Part deux.
Part deux. Merci beaucoup. We will do it. You
Okay.
take care.
Okay.
And I'll
thank-
say goodbye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Wow. That was awesome. We got a prayer. We got to meet Dax. We got to meet the family. We got to hear the dogs. We got to hear the chimes. We got to be part of all of that. That was amazing. I really enjoyed that. So thank you very much to Rob and Melissa. Thank you very much. I'm going to make sure I get her name proper. Bethan Nodwell. Thank you very much. I actually disappointed you, and that disappointment turned into amazing interviews. What I'm going to let everybody know is I invited her to my Canada Day special. I threw in the towel a little early. 5 minutes later, she said I was going to come on. I said, I'm so sorry. And then she said, I had Josh, I had other people. I said, can we book them? Thank you, Bethan. I very, very much appreciate that. So did you guys enjoy that? Do you like to hear from faith leaders? Do you like to hear from pastors? Is this the kind of stuff you like to spend your afternoon on? I do. And I really appreciated his prayer at the end there. But look at this. They didn't fight the government. They didn't flip a bird to the government. They opened their church because people need faith and people needed a place to go. We heard the story about the gentleman who just simply reached out and said, can I be the one more? Can we have one more? And they said yes, 40 times at least. Beautiful people. So thank you all very much for sharing that with me. And I'm definitely going to be keeping in contact with Melissa and Rob going forward. There's a lot of people to talk to, so I'm definitely going to do that. So thank you all very much for joining me on a Saturday. It's not our normal day, but when God speaks and God gives you the option and the opportunity, you take it. You take it. So thank you all very much. You know how I feel about you. I love you all, and God bless.